This week, we're tackling a tough question from a mom in Colorado who wrote with this: I am a mother who struggles with two daughters who face gender issues, and my youngest has asked for hormones. She's only 12 with a history of anxiety and depression. I live in Colorado, and the policies here are made not to protect our children, but to promote experimental treatments without measuring consequences in the future. I've been praying and looking for the right resources. So far, it has been like knocking on closed doors. Thank you again, from a mother in need. This is a hard place to be, and our hearts just go out to this mom. But we want to provide her with some resources today that will hopefully encourage and help her as she seeks to help her daughters. I encourage you to watch this video even if you can't relate to this mom, because I'm going to give you some ways that you can speak out and get educated to protect children like this mom's daughters. I'm Meridian Baldacci, and this is Ask Meridian. Well, thank you to this mom for raising this really difficult issue. And I just want to say at the outset that we at Family Policy Alliance have prayed for you, and we are constantly working to protect children like yours and families like yours. That is just at our hearts. So thank you for reaching out to us. I want to give you a few resources that you can use, whether or not this is an issue that you face in your family. These are resources that will help get you educated about this issue, which is really just increasingly important. And so just to set the stage for this, the truth is that some children do struggle with accepting their God-given bodies and their God-given sex. Now, I think that's increasing because children are being pushed toward thinking that way, whether that's at schools, in popular media, even in sometimes counselors and therapists' office. Unfortunately, they can be pushed toward that. And that's, of course, just not helpful. When they're being pushed to consider transition, what we mean by that is that they're being pushed to puberty blockers, then cross-sex hormones, then potentially even surgery. And each one of those is so damaging in its own way. But the combination can leave children sterile with other issues, including bone density problems, cardiovascular issues. They could have a permanently altered voice. If they decided down the road that they actually want to go back to the way that God made them to be, there will be some things that they would not be able to go back on, depending on how far they'd gotten down the transition road. So this is really serious stuff that we're talking about, and it's becoming increasingly common across America. And so it's so important that we talk about this issue, whether or not it personally affects you. So let me give you a few resources. The first one is I'm going to ask you to pull out your calendar and mark it for September 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. September 14th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 12 p.m. Central Time. I encourage you to mark your calendar that day because I will be live with a medical professional, and we'll be talking about everything you need to know about this issue, from gender dysphoria to transition to ways to help kids. Everything under the sun about this issue we'll be talking about. So you'll be able to hear it straight from the lips of a medical professional, and you can bring your questions as well to make sure that you're getting the answers that you need. So mark your calendars. Secondly, I want to encourage you to click the link below to check out our brand new Help Not Harm campaign. The Help Not Harm campaign is built around this idea that kids need real help when they're struggling, not the harm of these dangerous transgender interventions. And we're encouraged because we think that we can protect children from those dangerous interventions. Even though they're becoming increasingly common, Arkansas this year became the first state to legally protect children from those interventions. It was a huge win, and we're so grateful to our friends in Arkansas who made that happen. But now we want to see that spread all across the country. And that is the heart of Help Not Harm, is bringing that across the country. So you can find a few things on that website. You can find information to educate yourself, to get answers to your questions about this issue, to learn what is transition, what's involved with it, what are some of the side effects, why should we be concerned, what does it look like to really help children. All those answers are there on our Help Not Harm page. Next, you can actually speak out to lawmakers. And this is maybe the most important thing that you can do, especially if you're wondering, this doesn't affect me, I don't know anyone who this affects. here's something you can do is you can speak out for the people that it affects. You can go sign our petition there to lawmakers asking them to protect children legally from these dangerous interventions. While you're there, you'll also find resources to help spread the word to your friends because, again, education is key, and you can use hashtag #HelpNotHarm to do that. Next, I want to encourage you, if you have a child in school, to download our Back to School Guide for parents. I have the link below again for that as well. And we've talked about this before, but I want to encourage you again to download this if you have a child or grandchild who's in school. Because what this guide does, it's a free guide by the way, is it walks you through the different rooms of a school and the different threats that your child could be facing there, as well as, importantly, what you can do about it. So we'll talk about classrooms and the concerning content that your child may be facing there, including content that they'll be learning related to sex and gender, and what red flags you can watch for, how you can find out what your child is learning, and even how you can push back against that. And we'll go through other rooms too. So what happens in the counselor's office, what happens in the bathrooms and locker rooms, what could be happening on your child's sports team. You can find out all that information so that you can be truly the first line of defense for your child. Finally, again, whether or not this issue affects you personally, if you want to learn more about it, I want to recommend 2 books to you. The first one is Abigail Shrier's book, Irreversible Damage. And now this book walks through the increasing and concerning trend of teenage girls feeling like they were born in the wrong body and they should have been boys, and the push toward transition for those girls. So it's a hard read, but an encouraging one too, because it talks about parents who have been able to intervene and how parents are standing up to protect their children. So that's one book that I would commend to you. The other is Ryan Anderson's book, When Harry Became Sally. This book dives deep into both the philosophy and the science on this issue. So if you want a deep dive, it's a great read, and I strongly commend to you When Harry Became Sally by Ryan Anderson. But if you only have time to do one thing, I would encourage you to sign up for our webinar on September 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to get notified of that, you can actually go sign our petition on the Help Not Harm page, and you'll get all the information about the webinar there. Just make sure that you are there on September 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. When you sign up, you'll actually get a link to watch it later. So if you can't make it at that time, definitely sign up. Go to the Help Not Harm page, sign that petition. You'll get the information that you need to do that. But I encourage you to get the facts and to work to protect children, whether that's protecting your own child in these really difficult circumstances like this mom is facing, or working to protect other children across the country. I hope I'll see you on September 14th. I'm Meridian Baldacci, and this is Ask Meridian.